Guiseley Ridley, I was lucky enough to achieve 2 promotions with Scunthorpe United, but nothing compares to the joy I experience when listening to the Iron Hour podcast.
Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, Iron fans, however you're listening or watching to this. Very happy to say that this is another edition of the Iron Hour podcast. We thought we'd mix it up a little bit this week, particularly as we don't desperately want to review the Guiseley game on Saturday. The less that's said about the Irons' defeat in the FA Cup third qualifying round, the better, especially if you made the trip across to West Yorkshire. But I am still thrilled to say that we're going to have previews and predictions from a number of your usual podcast panellists as we look forward to the Iron hosting that well-known National League North club of Oxford City this coming Saturday, as Andy Butler and his men very much looking to bounce back after a couple of disappointing performances in a row now. So make sure you listen to them. Also very happy to say we've got an excellent Spy in the Camp segment coming up with an Oxford City fan. So thank you very much to Andy Barraclough for sorting that out. It really is a good interview. And very happy to say that you can listen to that now.
Iron fans, we continue this week's podcast with our usual segment, The Spy in the Camp, and I'm very pleased to say this week we're joined by Oxford City fan, Rowan Waller. And I mean, are you the official poet of the club, Rowan? What's the story there?
Oh, I am the official. Yeah, I am. The official poet is my role at Oxford City. Yeah, that doesn't mean much. It's not a paid role, so it doesn't. I don't even get a free burger and chips, so it doesn't mean much apart from I have to do a load of work at least once a week, if not twice a week.
I mean, I guess you was a busy guy on Saturday having to put something out and then rewrite it.
Actually, I didn't bother. So I'd written you mean because we lost our manager on Friday night? Yeah, I had written my poem on Tuesday night. And the reason being, because I ain't written Scunthorpe yet, because I don't have to, because it's away. But when it's at home, I have to get it into them about 4 days in advance to get in the programme. So I went to Leamington and watched us get battered 4-1, unfortunately. And we were doing quite well. I don't know what happened, but that's basically been the story of our season. So I cobbled that together on the way back, writ it up when I was in bed on my phone, and then sent it off to them. And then when the news broke on Friday, I thought I should really rewrite this, but I haven't got the energy all the time. So so it just went out as was.
Let's rein it back into football for now. I mean, I really want to explore this for sure. Let's stick with the football for now. So, Oxford City currently sit in 23rd. They have only 6 points so far this season, and for Scunny, it's so weird because we are top of the league at the moment, but the fan reaction over the past 2 games has been pretty crazy. Like, we've lost the last 2. The stuff's started to fall apart, if I'm being honest. What's it like for you?
Well, Oxford City is a different type of club to Scunny, and actually I felt that. So last season we were National League last season, and that's the highest Oxford City had ever been. So Oxford City, nobody knows the story of Oxford City really, but Oxford City is the oldest club in Oxford by about 10 years. There were two amateur clubs in Oxford until the 60s, I guess. I don't know when Oxford United became professional, but Oxford City had always been the bigger of the 2 clubs in the early days and through the first half of the 20th century. And then Headington United went professional, became Oxford United. And then obviously the fan base changed. Oxford City lost our ground, so we were kicked out. It was owned by the college, by the university, and they turfed them out basically in the 80s. And then we became Wanderers for a few years before we ended up at where we are now at Marsh Lane. And in the meantime, I guess the club has become a much more of just a community club. It was very grassroots. I mean, it was, a few years ago, it would have been Southern Premier and had got promoted up to actually National League North. It was in National League North for a few seasons. Then because of whoever got relegated or promoted that season, into National League South, got promoted from National League South into National League. And then last year we dropped down into National North. And last season, I just remember when Oldham came, and Oldham, they were decent, and their fans was just so. I mean, the fans were great fans, but they were so serious about it. They were just so serious and on their team and on their chairman and on their manager. And we're just not like that in general. I'd say in general, I've never really seen Oxford City fans turn. And we are a fairly small fan base. It's not a huge following compared to other clubs. And I think because of that, we are much more of a close knit kind of group, and nobody ever gets really very angry. But yeah, for the first few games of this season under Sam Cox, I could see it on Twitter. It was the first time I'd ever seen or heard any vitriol at all from Oxford City fans towards anyone, yeah, I think by the end the writing was on the wall for him. But I'm really sorry for it because he was a top bloke, and I think he was really unlucky. I think we were really unlucky against Marine, and we were unlucky against Curzon, and we expected to get beaten by Kidderminster and by South Shields. So those two losses weren't really a surprise. I just think that, I don't know. I think he needed a bit more time, really, but it was, I guess it was inevitable the way it panned out that he wasn't going to get more time.
And for a lot of Scunny fans, I'm going to level with you. I'm going to level with you, Rowan. We don't know a lot about Oxford City, right? So this is your opportunity to educate us. So Sam Cox was in charge for 100 days, is that right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, obviously pre-season. So Ross Jenkins had managed us through promotion from South up to National League, and obviously he managed us through relegation as well. So we popped up into National League. I think there would have been a plan to get to National, but I don't think we expected to do it when we did. And therefore, I think the hope was to stay up, but there was never necessarily. I don't know whether amongst I'm not, like I say, I'm club poet, but I'm not employed by the club. I'm not involved with the club, so I don't know what goes on in the upper echelons of it. And I guess that they would have hoped to have stayed up, but didn't necessarily have an expectation to. So seeing us drop back down wasn't a massive surprise. I guess seeing us drop back down the way we did was a bit of a surprise because we weren't playing badly. We just, I don't know, the results just didn't go our way. And then when we went down, we would have hoped to have kept Ross, and Boreham come along and poached him. So we didn't get rid of Ross Jenkins, and there would have been no kind of ill feeling about that. It was a sort of made sense that that's what he would do. And I don't get the impression that he was booted out by Boreham either. I think it wasn't working out, and it was a kind of a mutual decision. So Ross coming back in with Sam going feels to us like a really positive thing, and because he knows the guys already, he knows the sort of the setup of the club, and what the club is it's much more like a community asset than it's. I wouldn't say it's not a serious football club. They've obviously got ambitions, but what they do off the pitch, I would say, is for them as a business is probably, it feels like it's more important. Providing a service to the community, providing the setup and the ground for lots of local teams to come in and use. And that's under Ignite rather than under Oxford City, but they kind of are very symbiotic with each other. So Oxford City, in National League North, what can I say about it? I mean, I guess that our ambition would have been, when we dropped down from National League, I would have, do you know what? When, at the beginning of the season, I'd have been looking at Scunthorpe thinking that this was going to be a game where we'd both be top of the table, battling for a kind of, seeing who was going to be top. Not necessarily that I thought we would have been top ourselves, but I definitely thought that we would have been in contention for perhaps an automatic, even if it was chasing, and we would definitely be in the playoff zone. So seeing us right down in 23rd is a surprise, and definitely our ambition is to still probably make a playoff spot. I would still think that's the ambition, and there's still probably, I don't know how many points there are. There's probably still 90 points left this season to try and go at, right? I mean, it's still fairly early days, so it's probably been the right time to make a change if you're going to make one. But I just I think that our own belief has possibly been knocked a little bit. In fact, actually, Sam parted company on Friday. We then had a cup tie against Gosport Borough on Saturday, which we should have absolutely nailed, and we nailed him in the first half, and then we ended up losing 3. I went for a wee at 1-1, and I come out of the toilet and it was 3-1, and that's how quickly that game had turned. So, and that's a true story. So I don't know. I think that our confidence needs to be built back up, and perhaps the way to build that isn't going away to Scunthorpe.
Well, you touched there on the FA Cup of the weekend. You also touched on the fact that you're probably not where you expected or hoped to be. Cards on the table, realistically, Rowan, where do you think and where do you expect Oxford City can finish this season?
I don't think we'll get relegated. I think that we'll start to climb the table, and we'll probably miss out on a playoff spot. I think that's where I feel like it is. But with Ross back at the helm, and with the squad that they've got and the talent that's in that squad, I don't actually think playoffs is an unreasonable ambition. So I call it an ambition rather than an expectation from my point of view. And like I say, I ain't speaking for the club. But I think that, if we can have a safe mid-table finish, I think we'd all take that at the moment and then build next year. But ultimately, if we, honestly, we're the sort of team that could come up to you guys on Saturday and pinch a win, let alone a draw. But, if we end up coming away with a 1-1 draw, we'll think that's a massive result. And actually, it wouldn't be too much. It would not be too much of a surprise. We have this it would be like entirely City to have the run that we've done and then come away with something from the top of the table away from home. So and if we get through this weekend with something, I'm not worried if we do or we don't. I think when whatever comes after Scunthorpe is where we then start to rebuild. I don't even know who we've got actually next. So from that point on, I think we then start to have to go, right, we've got to try and take points away from home, and we've got to try and get 3 points at home. And those are that should still be an expectation that we can have as a club. And therefore, finish at whatever 11th, 12th place or something like that. But who knows? Why not finish in 5th or 6th? It's not going to be beyond the realms.
Well, there you go then. Oxford City hoping for the bounce of a new manager at the weekend against Scunthorpe United. Rowan, thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, cheers, boy. See you there.
Thank you, Andy. That was an excellent Spine the Camp interview there, and a really good insight onto Oxford City, who I suspect a lot of Iron fans will know have played 3 different divisions now in their last 3 seasons. So it's going to be a really interesting test for Scunthorpe on Saturday. Whilst Oxford City are second bottom in the table, they have still spent time in the National League last season, and it's not a club that many Iron fans will have seen play before. So it's going to be a really, really interesting test for us on Saturday. See whether or not we can pick up 3 points. So this is the section where I segment to Marco, who's going to give a little bit of a pre-match prediction, how he thinks the game's going to go, and take it away, Marco.
Right then, the one you've been waiting for. Oxford at home. Look, anything better than Saturday is a bare minimum. It was terrible, but we're not going to go into that. Saturday's a new day. Oxford at home. Obviously, we score quite a few goals, so look, for where we've been defending a minute, probably likely they are going to score, but let's just hope we can get a couple more. So my prediction for the game is going to be 2-1. My attendance, I still think with the deals, the friend for a tenner, I think Gareth said there's going to be grassroots day as well, which is always really successful. So my attendance is going to go 4-2-3-6. I'll be there, so let's hope we can get that win. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if there's going to be changes. Definitely new personnel. Whether we see a new shape or not, we'll find out tomorrow. I'd like to see Laws. I thought Shrimpton was probably one of the better of the players on Saturday. But look, any of those 11 really can't be shocked or surprised if they get dropped for tomorrow. I'd fully support Butler with an array of changes. But yeah, look, let's just hope it's really positive, because the scenes after Saturday's game weren't great. Fans and the players need to be on the same page, and it's what we've had a really good connection with for the last year. So the less of that, the better. But look, fans are going to be angry if they don't think the performances are up to scratch, and Saturday definitely wasn't. So I can see sort of both sides, but we need to support, because look, we nearly didn't have the right to be able to shout shit at the players. So yeah, tomorrow 2-1, and let's just hope for a good day.
Thank you very much to Marco for his pre-match prediction of the Irons game against Oxford City this coming Saturday. Do you think he's right? Do you think he's talking out of his backside? Our very own Italian stallion here on the Iron Hour podcast. Let us know either way. Put a comment on there, and let's see if you can correct Marco and find yourself proven right after 5 o'clock on Saturday, when hopefully the Iron have kept 3 points up in Scunthorpe, and the long journey back down to Oxford is not too fruitful for the Iron's opponents. So this is where I dive in with a pre-match prediction of my own. I do think the Iron will bounce back with 3 points, although I do perhaps fear that our recent struggles in the final third will continue a little bit. Hopefully, the game will be a bit of just what the doctors ordered when we haven't played well a couple of times. Our last 3 away games, if you include the trip to Newcastle Town in the FA Cup second qualifying round, haven't been great performances. Only 1 goal between the 3 games. And even in the last 25/30 minutes against Guiseley, when they had 10 men, I was never really convinced we looked like scoring. It was good to see Danny Whitehall back, but I didn't think that he was at his best. When players do come back from injury, sometimes there's a difference between being injured and not being injured and being fully fit. So hopefully another week on the training ground has done Danny some good, because we're a significantly better side when he's rocking and rolling. So on that basis, I will go for a scruffy but a nonetheless important 2-0 Iron win. I could see Oxford being competitive for large stretches of the game, particularly between both boxes, but I'm hoping that a little bit of quality, even from a set piece, even from a long throw, will strike for the Iron at a key moment, because if the game is still 0-0 going to 65, 70 minutes, we know the crowd will get a little bit more nervous, but also the opposition, in this case Oxford City, will grow, and they'll really begin to have a little bit of confidence that they can get something out of a game, which a week ago they probably would have been less likely to target for a positive result. So yeah, I'll go for 2-0 to the Iron. I will go for 1 goal from Andy Boyce, and then maybe with about 10 or 15 minutes to go, hoping that Cal Roberts can score a second for us with a bit of quality on the break. So yeah, let me know in the comments below if you think that's potential, if you think I'm talking out of my backside. And I will have a guess at trying to pull the attendance as well. I could see it being a little bit skinnier than we've had potentially our smallest crowd so far this season, particularly if there's not that many away fans. As we've mentioned earlier, it's quite a long trip up from Oxfordshire. So I will go for 3,657. Hope I'm wrong. Hope there's lots more. Wouldn't be the first time I've been wrong. But yeah, let's go to the People's Princess. Let's go to the one and only Iron Army, Gareth Holden, everybody's favourite really, even mine, to see what his pre-match prediction and how he thinks it will go for the Iron on Saturday against Oxford City in the National League North.
People's Princess. Come on, we need to get away from that. But thank you anyway, Max, for your kind words. Just going back to Rowan, being the club poet at Oxford City. Do we have a club poet at Scunthorpe United? And if not, why not? I'm all up for it. Why not? But yeah, anyway, moving on. Danny Whitehall, you said about him at Guiseley, or coming back from injury, you lose that match fitness. So it'll be good for him to have played that match. Yeah, it wasn't his best. But I think, with that game under his belt, another week's training as well, I think we'll see the Danny Whitehall we all know and love on Saturday against Oxford City. I'm going to go for 3-1 to Scunthorpe. I think, Oxford City, they've not scored against Curzon and Kidderminster, but they've scored in all the other games. So, and of late, we've not looked great at times at the back. So I think there's every opportunity that they will score. I'm hoping, in a way, that it's 1-1, Rowan goes to the toilet again, and he comes out and it's 3-1 Scunthorpe. And yeah, there we go, 3-1. Why not? And if it is 3-1, the fans may be a lot happier than they were at Guiseley. They may be cheering. Who'd have thought? But yeah, so attendance-wise, I think we will get around 4,000. I think there's a grassroots day on the day. So there's lots of kids' teams going. They've been selling tickets for. So I think around the 4,000 mark, which would be good, given recent results. But yeah, that's it. People's Princess over and out.
Thanks to Gareth for that. Again, do you think he's right? Do you think he's on the money? We're always keen to get Iron fans involved, particularly with post and pre-match analysis. So let us know if you think Gareth's on the money. Well, hope you've enjoyed this, Iron fans. We'll keep the podcast coming. Obviously, the Iron have got a free week thanks to our FA Cup elimination in the third qualifying round last Saturday away at Guiseley. So because Farsley Celtic have qualified into the FA Cup, that means the game is off. But luckily, we've got a perfect opportunity for something even more entertaining. Very happy to say that the Iron Hour podcast are playing another charity game. This time it's up at Birch Park in Bottisford against Real Sociedad, raising money for Sheffield Children's Hospital Ward 5, who've been really heavily involved with looking after the care of Evie Moore. The money will be collected by Evie's dad, Carl, who's been a real big friend of the podcast recently. So thank you to everyone who supported us. We know that it's been an invaluable effort, and thank you to everyone who's been the sponsors and putting their hands in the pocket, which especially at times like this is it's always really, really appreciated. So 5:30 entry up at Bottisford on Saturday the 12th of October. Kick off at about 5:45. We're hoping that the floodlights will come on nice and early. Fingers crossed that the weather is good. And even if the football isn't good, Bottisford's got an excellent clubhouse. Come along, have a drink, have something to eat. Shout abuse at me, shout abuse at Barra, get Gareth's autograph, all the usual stuff. And then, we'll put more information on our social media channels as well. And if you bump into any of us at a game and you want to know more, just honestly come and ask us any time. We're always happy to chat with Iron fans. So, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Hope you've enjoyed this podcast. We're trying to mix it up a little bit. So we'll potentially take a break next week. If you haven't already, make sure you listen to the excellent 2-part podcast that Andy Barraclough and Becky did with Iron legend, ex-manager, ex-player, ex-Wembley winner, Russ Wilcox. It really is an excellent interview with a proper Scunny legend. So, thank you very much, Iron fans, and let's hope for 3 points on Saturday. Up the Iron.
Up the Iron.